speaking of Dave's voice, does him being a more melodic singer help with the songwriting? I mean, does it kind of expand what kinds of songs you can write based on the
Yeah,
fact
for
he
sure.
can sing melodic? Because, most thrash bands, you're thinking of guys that are shouting, you got guys like Blitz or, guys like Zetro or, the guy from Havoc, I mean,
Yeah.
those guys are good for what they do, but, you know, when you have a guy like, and this I hate to reference Flotsam and Jetsam. I'm going to use it as a reference. You have a guy like
That's
Eric.
okay.
You have a guy like Eric who's a melodic singer, and I really fully believe that they're taking more advantage of that part of his voice now for these last few
Absolutely.
albums. And I
Yeah.
feel you did the same thing with Dave, because when I listen to Dave on the early stuff, he have like a more clean singing voice, like a Jelly Belladonna, or a little bit, yeah, but he's a little harsher. But he could sing very melodically, and I always think of him and Eric as like the two overlooked singers in thrash metal, right?
Right.
Because of that. But does that help with the songwriting and really, writing different
Yeah.
kinds of songs for this band?
It allows us to do almost anything we want to. I
Right.
mean, if you look at the last record, we had we had thrash songs where the vocals were less melodic at times and more aggressive.
Yeah.
And then we also had a song like Shrine of Apathy, which was a ballad,
Yeah.
and it was in drop C. And that's something that we couldn't do if we didn't have a melodic singer. Um, we don't really have a ballad on the next record, but we have lots of melodic parts. In some ways, for a thrash band, it's harder, and I think a lot of I think in a lot of ways, like thrash and death metal, because they don't have a melodic singer, they're able to really just focus on rhythmic elements with the vocals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like thinking about death metal, for example, it's all rhythmic, right? There's no they might do scream on pitch occasionally, but for the most part, it's rhythmic, all the
Right.
vocal delivery, right? And that's it's easier to tie a rhythm into thrash metal than it is to tie a melody into it.
Okay.
So you have to not be afraid to like change the riff. If the vocal melody needs a certain note and your riff doesn't have it, then you got to find a way to make it so that it all fits together and works, And I think it's like a puzzle sometimes. I know, like the song Empire of the Blind from the last record was a puzzle. And I had it written for a long time. It had a different name. Some of the lyrics were different. Some of the riffs were different. And it just took a long time for me to solve the puzzle and have it come together. And it wasn't until I put another part on top of the riff where the magic happened. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it's, I enjoy it. Honestly, the creative stuff is my favorite part of playing music. I like it
Yeah.
more than touring. To me, the end result, the suffering of going through the creation process and then coming out with something on the other side where you're like, that gives me goosebumps, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, whatever. That's magic to me. Playing live can be, but there's just the tour. It's the travel for
Yeah.
me that gets me.
Yeah. You know what the other thing is? The other talent that you have, a lot of people, I'll bring up here, is you write tablature books, and you've done that for those records, which I think is actually a really cool thing. It's, they got those available in your store actually. So it's like, do you like doing that? Is that something you like to do? Like when you map that stuff out?
I love it. I don't have enough time to do it all myself. I
Sure.
actually have a transcriber, a great guy named Evan Bradley. His transcriptions are awesome. And he helps me with some of the songs when I don't have enough time to do them all myself. He's very good at it. And I like having those books because to me, a lot of this music deserves to be transcribed and done properly.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at old stuff, like the Injustice for All book is notoriously bad, for example. Um, uh, and it does a disservice to to the book when it's not accurate with the music, and you're like, wait, this doesn't sound right, or that's not where they're playing it when I watch the video, or whatever,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love doing it. I'm actually working on the Breaking the Silence guitar book right now. I'm trying to get it finished.
Yeah, that's cool. And you know what? I do want to throw this in here. A lot of people might forget, part of the delay between albums too is, I mean, you were filling in for Gary with Exodus for quite a while too. I mean, that always throws a wrench into that too, and that's, you have a lot of other stuff going on in between that, but I'm really happy to hear that you have a lot of music written, because when I listened to those two records and I went and revisited them, like a week ago, I was like, man, I forgot how much I love these records. And Evolution of Chaos, it came out forever ago, but it doesn't seem like it seemed like it came out like 6 months ago to me. But then I realized how old that album is and that it had already been reissued already once. So
it's 15 years old already.
Yeah. That's some crazy stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, I wrote 3 songs for Evolution.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that tour cycle was over around 2012, I started writing Empire of the Blind. So it was 8 years before we got to record that stuff. Now, in a way, I'm glad that it took so long because I was able to really refine a lot of the music. But it was a little frustrating. I was enjoying being a hired gun for Exodus and touring, and not really having not having many responsibilities other than show up and play.
Mm-hmm.
But I also really wanted to get back to being creative, and it was a little frustrating. I mean, I kept talking to Lee about it, and finally I got to a point where I'm like, dude, I got a whole album's worth of stuff. Can we go? Like, can we just go with it? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. He had heard it all already.
Mm-hmm.
So, I have probably this new album was started around 2014, like writing wise.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a bunch more, I have so much music. I don't have enough time to get it all out of me, but I'm working on it.
Hey everybody, Tony here from the Metal Command podcast. Again, I appreciate your support. Since 1998, I have hosted this show in one form or another, starting off in radio and now in the podcast format. Again, thanks for watching, and if you like what you see and hear on this show, by all means, please hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell to be notified anytime I do post a video, and if you see this program on any other form of social media, please give me a follow there. Again, I always appreciate your support.